So this is quite an interesting turn of events that is going on between Pocket Pair and Nintendo. So I'm pretty sure some of you folks may or may not remember, but a couple months ago, I made a video talking about Nintendo's newest lawsuit gamepad and mechanic and how they're still targeting PalWorld and how Nintendo is still continuing their warpath against Pocket Pair and PalWorlds because Nintendo not only doesn't like it when people have fun with other games, but they absolutely hate competition, especially when it comes to indie developers just making a better creature catching game than a AAA company does. And you think that with all the gamepad and mechanics that Nintendo's trying to file against Pocket Pair, and you think that the warpath that Nintendo has continued to tread against Pal Worlds, you think that would be going well for them, right? Well, surprisingly, an unfortunate turn of events against Nintendo has taken place. And this has to do with one of their patent mechanics being rejected. So, one of the big patent mechanics that Nintendo tried to file against Pocket Pair for creature catching, apparently that patent mechanic was rejected against Nintendo in Japan. Now, of course, there was a patent mechanic filed here in the US which was given the all clear, but I'm not an expert when it comes to like businesses and these patent mechanics. But the one thing I do know is that it has to go through some kind of certification process where it's got to be approved by other companies around the world and all that jabaz. And it's like, okay, it's approved here in the US. We'll wait and see what the other parts of the world say. But however, Japan, on the other hand, surprisingly told Nintendo, no, you're not going to have your way, Nintendo. They gave Nintendo the big no finger and wagged it back and forth and told them, now listen here, little Nintendo man, you can't get your way always. You gotta let other companies have fun too. And Nintendo apparently is now starting to throw a fit because they were not expecting this to go well. So there's an article that I want to read to you folks that does talk about this situation. So this article comes from GameRant.com. I'm going to read it to you folks, and if you want to read the article for yourself, I will leave a link in the description down below so you folks can go check it out for yourselves if you want to get a deeper dive on this situation. So this comes from GameRant.com. I'm going to read it to you folks, and then we will discuss. Japan's patent office has rejected a Nintendo application to its PalWorld lawsuit, citing a lack of originality. The decision raises questions about the validity of several Nintendo patents describing creature catching systems that are central to the company's complaint against PalWorld. September 19th marked the first anniversary of Nintendo and the Pokemon companies filing a joint patent lawsuit against PalWorld's developer Pocket Pair. The duo alleged that PalWorlds infringe on the three of their patents for the creature capture and the rideable creatures switching. The case brought in front of the Tokyo District Court has yet to make its way to trial. Okay, so let's talk about this because there's a lot to uncover and talk about here. So, as we all know, Nintendo has filed multiple patents against PalWorld, and we have seen Nintendo go absolutely overboard and they just been patenting stuff left and right. And I've talked about a couple of these patents before, one of them being animal riding mechanics, which I also made a separate video talking about earlier this year. But unfortunately for Nintendo, this seems to have backfired against them. So what does this mean for Pocket Pair and Nintendo? So as of now, and what the article just said, about the case being brought to the Tokyo District Court. So basically, the best way I can explain this part is it still needs to be going through the process. So obviously, they need to go to court for this, and they both need to discuss their sides of the cases over these patent mechanics. So it still needs to go through the processing stuff. But anyway, let's continue with the article. In late October 2025, the Japan Patent Office rejected Nintendo's patent application number 2024-031879, which is related to the family of creature capture patents that PalWorld is accused of infringing. A JPO patent examiner found that the application lacks originality to be deemed an invention, citing prior art such as Monster Hunter 4, Ark Survival, Evolved, Gotcha Bowser Game, Kantai Collection, Pocket Pair's own Craftopedia, and even Pokemon Go. All of those were related prior to the December 2021 priority date from the rejected application. Okay, so I hope you folks are still trying to bear with me here because there is a lot to talk about and there's a lot to discuss. So, the best way I can describe this part as easy as possible is the way that Nintendo is trying to go about this patent lawsuits is that it lacks originality to be deemed as like an actual invention. Like I've said before in one of my videos when I was talking about animal riding mechanics, like how Nintendo thought that they created animal riding mechanics or they created summoning mechanics. So they can be the only ones in gaming that can use these kind of patents and mechanics for their games. We've seen other games before that use these mechanics, like Call of Duty, for example. When you call in a score streak, you summon a helicopter, or you can summon in like a swarm of drones to attack your enemies on the battlefield. Or let's say Elden Ring, for example, the Souls-like games, where you use a summoning bell to summon allies, or you summon one of your buddies to help you with a certain boss fight that you're really struggling with. Some of those summoning mechanics, for example. But yet, in shocking turn of events, the Japan Patent Office has rejected those patents against Nintendo and basically told them, yeah, no, you didn't create these mechanics. These have always been a thing in gaming, so you didn't create them. So basically, in a nutshell, Nintendo has taken a massive L because on their own home turf, they were told, no, this you can't do that because it's nonsensical and you didn't create these mechanics. These have always been a thing in video games, so you're just complaining for the sake of complaining, Nintendo. So they basically took a massive L on their own home turf. That is embarrassing. And it gets even crazier. So let's get back to the article. Nintendo has 60 days from the date of its rejection notice to amend its application or appeal the decision, giving it until late December 2025 to do so. Since the application isn't cited in the PalWorld patent lawsuit directly, its rejection won't have a direct impact on its ongoing case. However, as explained by Games Foray analyst Floridian Muller, a newly rejected application is a key building block in Nintendo's strategy to capture a wide range of creature capture systems implementations. So the easiest way I can explain this next part is just because Nintendo lost this one battle, the war is not over. Like the whole lawsuit fight against Pocket Pair still rages on. So just because Nintendo was rejected one patent mechanic, that does not mean that it's officially over. And within that time frame, they have the option to appeal or they can try to find another way to get another lawsuit formed in there within that time frame. The important thing to take away from this, though, is that Nintendo was basically rejected the opportunity to basically hold the exclusive patenting mechanic of catching creatures and riding animals. So that way, no other gaming company can use them. But because they were rejected that claim, basically this is given the green light for any other company to go ahead and try to make their own creature catching game without having to really worry too much. So, once again, this is another massive L for Nintendo, and this is a big W for the gaming industry because, as we all know it, Nintendo is one of the most notorious anti-consumer companies out there, and they will do anything they can to protect their IP, no matter if it's targeting fan-made projects, no matter if it's targeting charity events that are trying to raise money for a good cause, no matter if it's going after indie developers, no matter if it's going after video game emulators, it doesn't matter. Nintendo will go above and beyond, and they will do whatever they can to be overprotective of their IPs, and they will do everything they can. Nintendo is not an easy enemy to take down. I mean, sure, Pocket Pair may have won this one battle, but like I've said earlier, the war still rages on, and Pocket Pair still has a lot of work to go. And comparing Pocket Pair, a small indie company that has been working on this game, PalWorlds, for almost 2 years now, and it's about to enter its full release state next year, they have still done way more work and way more effort for their game than Nintendo has done with Pokemon Legends ZA. And I know the Pokemon fanboys are going to get angry, but it's just a fact. I said it before and I'll say it again, and I am doubling down on this claim. PalWorlds is far better, and it's still far better than Pokemon. Until Nintendo learns to innovate and actually improve the Pokemon games, PalWorlds is going to continue to easily put the Pokemon franchise to shame. So, with this being said, thank you everyone for watching and for listening. And until next time, I'm talking about the ongoing battle between Nintendo and Pocket Pair, and I will see you all later.